Well, hey everybody, welcome to an all-new episode of Faux Real. I am excited, guys. I'm feeling good. I am feeling groovy. I just took a trip to see a really good friend of mine in Nashville, Tennessee. Them good folks over in Nashville. It was great. It was really invigorating. You know, it's good to get away. Don't worry, I practiced safe social distancing and mask wearing the entire time, especially and specifically on the plane. I had my N95 right on my nostril holes, and it felt really good to get out, take a little trip, see my friend, have a little change of perspective for a few days, and now I'm back in LA and ready to rock. On this episode, I am super excited to have a conversation with Michael Rubin, who is the lead singer and head songwriter of the Inoculated Canaries and also of King Falcon, two unbelievably powerful bands rocking harder than you can ever imagine. If you haven't heard of these bands, you're going to learn all about them during our conversation, and you're going to hear all about all the excellent work and music that Mike is putting out. Ignore the ambulance in the background. As I said, I'm back in LA and these sorts of things happen. I would re-record this intro, but I'm not gonna do it. Because I already started now, and this is what's happening. There it goes. Goodbye, get lost, thank you. Actually, go save some lives. Thank you so much. Speaking of saving lives, guys, it's that time. The official ballots are in the mail. If you are in California, you should have your ballot by now. You should have already received it. If you there's all sorts of resources that you can check out. Being a responsible host, should have some sort of link at right in front of me. I don't, but there are a million different resources that are easily Googleable. Please, for the love of the giant spaghetti monster and all that is good and holy, please get out there and vote, no matter which side of the political line you are on. If you follow my Instagram, you know which side I'm on, but that is neither here nor there. I just want you to please get out there and vote, do your civic duty. There are instructions with every mailed ballot that will walk you right through it. If you are having trouble with your ballot, then again, do a Google, do your research, talk to some friends. There are lots of amazing resources that you can check out. I will shout out a wonderful, very informative and very entertaining podcast called Factually by comedian Adam Conover, who is also the host of Adam Ruins Everything, and his podcast Factually is just phenomenal. So please check that out. He has a lot of great experts, including some people talking about how the election results work, how ballots work, all of that, how important every single vote is. Let me tell you, it is so important. Also, I want to give a shout out to a podcast called Ologies by my wonderful science-minded friend, Allie Ward, who is hosting every science-related thing on the planet. Her podcast, Ologies, I'm going to just say it. It's the best podcast out there. I'm even counting it much better than the show, because it's wonderfully produced, wonderfully written. She's just the most incredible host you could ever imagine listening to. And so she has a very recent episode on voting and voter suppression. It's very informative, extremely entertaining. Please check that out. And as I always say at this point in the show, oh, wait a minute, hold on, one more thing. Gonna do a plug for the Patreon, which again I have upgraded and leveled up to a mass degree. It's awesome. There are lots of very cool incentives there for some very cool behind the scenes content, some very unique things that you can be a part of, including helping me figure out my upcoming guests. You're going to have access to a lot of very cool things, including, and this is an exclusive, if you are listening to this episode right now, you're going to get a treat because I don't quite have the trailer ready, but I'm going to be premiering a brand new show on my network, Wilder Entertainment, called, well, yeah, I'm not ready to release that yet. You're going to have to wait just a little longer. But on the next episode, I'm going to have a trailer for you. And, I think the teaser is coming out on the next episode. Anyway, back to the Patreon. Sign up for the Patreon. Throw a couple bucks. You can... the contributor incentives start at just $3, $3 measly dollars. For just a little more than a bus ride, you can get in on all the exclusives and unique content that I'm going to be doing so much more of, including the teaser and first episode of this very, very special upcoming new podcast. I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm still working a lot of things out, so I don't want to announce even the title yet, but you're going to find out exactly what that is. First, you're going to get to listen to it first on by signing up as a patron on my Patreon, which is just patreon.com/faux real. And as I always say at this point in the show, really getting there officially this time, without further ado, here's my conversation with Michael Rubin of the Inoculated Canaries. It's 10 a.m. I mean, I should.
Yeah, I understand.
But I haven't had my coffee either this morning, so, you know.
I'm the same way, man. I work on musician schedule, which is I stay up until 6 a.m. I wake up at noon, you know.
Totally. Man, you're really putting out some great music. I've been listening to your singles. Hypocrite is an absolute blast. And the video is really great too. You started the band when you were 12, is that right?
Yeah, and I was a really, really little kid, 12 years old. We met a producer at the Bitter End, which is a venue in Greenwich Village, New York. It's like downtown. And we booked some studio time, and we had like 3 days to write the songs. And we just kind of showed up a bunch of 13-year-olds, and that's where we actually recorded the Blue Laws, which was our first EP, which is like almost 10 years ago now. So, you know, people hear the band and they think that we've kind of been doing this for a long time, but I'm only 21. So, you know, I feel like we're kind of just getting started now because now I kind of know what we're doing, but we've existed in one form or another for a while, and we've been making music for pretty much my whole life. So yeah, I mean, I was just a little kid when we made that first EP.
That's unbelievable, man. That's incredible. Well done. Congratulations on that. I mean, I was still trying to build, something identifiable with Legos at 12. So, I mean, you really got, you have a lot of great influences. Your dad loved classic rock, Zeppelin, Steely Dan, those kind of bands. I love them too. My dad's a rock guy, and I definitely got that from him. I have that soul flowing through me, you know. And as I was listening to your music, I got so many genres, you know, just beyond that classic rock. In fact, forgive me if this is totally off, but like especially in Donna, I picked up like a little ska, a little no doubt kind of feel happening.
So here's kind of a breakdown of the guys in the band, right? So there's four of us. So there's myself, and I've always been the classic rock guy, like you said, Zeppelin, Steely Dan, Pink Floyd, um, Rolling Stones to some extent. But the other three guys in the band are not like that at all. So James, my drummer, he's been in the band for like 8 years now. So he's really kind of been here for the long haul. He grew up on punk rock. So big on Green Day, big on Sum 41, Weezer, Blink-182. Also, again, like you said, ska, big Sublime fan, big like Less Than Jake, Real Big Fish. So that's kind of where he comes from. And then we have Dylan, who's our bass player, who actually before joining the Canaries played upright bass in a jazz band. So we stole him kind of directly from the jazz
At
world.
7 years old?
No. not at 7. I'm actually the youngest. The other guys are like 25, 26.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Dylan is mainly a jazz guy. And then you have Brian, who is similar in the Blink-182, Sum 41 world, but he's mainly a music theater pianist. So he does a lot of Broadway stuff. Like I think the last tour that his like day job was like playing Mamma Mia, so he kind of comes from that world. But he's a rock guy at heart. So he kind of uses like, if you listen to Sneakers, a lot of the changes in that song are like a little bit theatrical, and that's Brian's influence. So everybody kind of brings their own, like you said, the ska, that's James. Also, James plays brass instruments. So he plays saxophone. So that's where we got like all the saxophones and stuff that you hear are real. It's really James and Brian. Brian plays the trombone. Yeah, so I mean, everybody just kind of brings different musical backgrounds. But because I do most of the songwriting, I think the heart of it is classic rock, because that's what I know.
Hell yeah, baby, bring it. There is, there's such a great essence to all of your music, and I was jamming out early this morning, probably bothering my roommates, and I was a respectful roommate. I had my headphones in, but I did have the music up pretty loud.
Sure.
And I did watch the music video for Sneakers too, and it's pretty great. Really enjoyed it.
We actually that room where the bed was, the green room with the guitar on the wall. I'm in that room right now. Actually, I can turn the camera around and you'll see that.
Nice.
The guitar in the video. That's my used to be my bedroom, and now it's like an office. So
very cool. Who was the actress that played Donna in the music video?
So this is actually, well, I'm not gonna give away too much information.
Oh,
here, but,
okay. Oh, top secret.
Not so she's a very good friend of the band, particularly a very good friend of Brian, who's the keyboard player. And listen, let's just say that we all thought that the two of them would be very cute together. So we put together this a whole entire music video where the two of them would kiss at the end, and then they ended up not dating. So yeah, that's who she is. And I hope she doesn't see this interview, because I don't know if she knows that, but she's really great. We love her. We thought that her and Brian would be very cute.
It's very sweet. It's a very sweet little mini love story. I enjoyed it a lot, and she reminded me sort of Ingrid Michaelson a little bit in the, just really cute. I enjoyed that music video quite a bit. You recently started another band, as if you're not busy enough already.
Yeah. So
King Falcon.
Yeah, let me tell you about King Falcon. So I kind of got to college and started listening to a whole bunch of newer rock bands. So a little bit less of the Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, Steely Dan, and a little bit more Black Keys, Tame Impala. You ever heard of this band Mild High Club? They're picking up now. They're awesome.
Okay.
Really, really great band. So Mac DeMarco, all that kind of new. So I really started getting into it, and I was like, man, let's do a second project, because the music is definitely different. Like Canaries is classic rock through and through, but newer alt rock stuff, that's like I always say it like this: with the Canaries, everything that we do is analog. There's no computers, there's no like digital stuff. I mean, we use Pro Tools, but all the instruments are real. We don't use any drum machines or loops or anything like that. Everything is real. And to get an alt rock sound, you kind of have to use a little bit more on the digital production side.
Go outside that window, yeah.
Yes, so we wanted to start something new so that we didn't change fundamentally what the Canaries was about. So originally, King Falcon was going to be the same 4 guys as the Canaries, just with a different name. Ended up, Brian and Dylan had some other kind of commitments, and they really couldn't swing doing 2 full bands, which I understand. But James decided that he had nothing better to do. So it's been me and him. And King Falcon has kind of, it's existed since November of last year. We went to LA and we recorded a single there, which is called Shake, Shake, Shake. And that's been out for a couple months now. We actually also recorded an entire EP at James's studio, which is unreleased. Nobody has heard any of it, but it will come out. We're actually in the middle of making music videos for that too. So really, if you like the Canaries, but you want to hear what the Canaries sound like in an alternate universe, that's King Falcon. So I think it's kind of cool for fans because they can pick, they can really see like the different sides of what we do and hopefully hear some similarities. Because again, it's still James playing drums, it's still my guitar, it's still my voice. I still write the songs, but it's different. So yeah, it's just kind of a different flavor. Same guys though.
When it comes time to go up against Thanos, both bands will come out of Doctor Strange's portals and go at it. I love it. That's so cool. I can't wait to hear that new music.
I can't wait to put it out. That's always the hardest part because we have so much unreleased music that we just kind of drip feed because we want to make sure that we do like proper. Listen, I mean, it's very expensive to record music. We don't have a label. We do everything ourselves. When you put a song out, you want to make sure that we give as much push as we can. But we write songs like crazy. I mean, we've probably got a whole, like, between King Falcon and the Canaries, we've probably got like 2 albums that could come out tomorrow. But we're making sure that we really give everything the push that we can. So you're gonna have to be patient with us, but we do have all this stuff ready and we're still making music, and coronavirus is not gonna hold us back.
Take that, coronavirus. I hope you'll debut some of that new music on the show. Please come right back and debut it on the show because I'd love to hear it. I can't even imagine the level of coordination and engineering and everything that goes into making your music pop as well as it does, because I do this little dumb show and I have trouble puppeting all the various strings myself. I do everything on this show myself too, and it's a it's a whole thing.
It's a lot of work, and all of us also have full-time jobs. We all work at, you ever heard of School of Rock?
Oh yeah.
So we're all by day we're all just music teachers at School of Rock, and then by night we're rock stars allegedly. So I mean it's a lot of work, man. I only sleep a couple hours a night.
Living the true rock superhero life. That's
the thing about this business is that you get into it because you love doing it. And then you kind of reach a point in your life where you're like, oh man, I gotta like really commit to this because I have to be able to feed myself, so it's an all or nothing kind of thing. It's not you can't be half pregnant, as I like to say.
Exactly. I love that. I know Hypocrite you had sort of lying around for a while, and you just released it, right?
Yeah,
the music video's been out for a little bit, but you haven't actually released the single officially yet, right?
Oh, we have, yeah. Now the single is out.
Okay, it's out now. Okay.
September 9th, I believe.
Okay.
Normally people release on a Friday, but we figured it would probably be distasteful to release something on 9/11, so we released on a Wednesday.
Probably. That was.
I'm from New York. Like I saw it from my house. We didn't want to do that. Yeah, it was. I mean, I was a little kid, but I still remember it because you look outside, the sky was black. But we're not gonna get into that. But yeah, I mean, so actually fortunate that we did that because we would have never been able to have everybody in that close proximity to film, the music video. So luckily we did it a while ago, but we knew that we wanted to release it for the election, and it was such a politically charged video. I mean, it's you see what's going on, you know, if bands aren't talking about this,
Unfortunately, I do. Yeah, all around.
like who's going to talk about it? You know, yeah, the news talks about it, sure, but it's different. You know, the news talks about it kind of matter of factly, and I think we as artists got to talk about kind of how it feels. You know, this is a lot of anger associated with the president that we have now, because you know, I don't know if you guys censor radio. You might want to censor this one, but he's kind of a shitbag. Like, he's awful.
He's a fascist, and
Yeah.
and I can say that with absolute resolve, and I won't go into it too much here because it's not that kind of show, but you're absolutely right. And it absolutely, there are a volcano of emotions that has to be conveyed, and music is one of the best platforms to allow those emotions to play themselves out. And I think you do that really well in your video.
The hypocrite video is we were very careful, although I will readily admit that it was 100% inspired by Donald Trump. We really wanted to make it not so much Democrat versus Republican, because I think at the end of the day, people who are truly good, whether they're Democratic or Republican, as long as they want to help people, that's okay. You know, the way that they go about doing it is different. You know, Republicans, you know, not right now, but usually I think Republicans kind of have the heart of the middle class in mind, and I think that's important, you know, because you got a lot of Americans who, you know, are middle class, own small businesses, and for them to be Democrat is, yeah, you understand. But then, you know, on the other side, Democrats are the ones that are usually trying to push things forward and are usually trying to kind of, you know, make change happen. So it's not a partisan issue on that level. It is purely just the one person like not tied to the party is awful, and that's what this is about, you know. So we wanted to make it so that it's not partisan in that way. It is purely just, if you are a politician and you're not out to make people's lives better, you're out to do this for yourself, you're a hypocrite. So that's what the song is really about. It's not a blue or red issue.
And I think it really presents that very well. Does it in sort of a, you know, an opaque way, but still very visceral, in that you're like, okay, yeah, yeah, I've been going around with some of my friends from my hometown, and it's been not great. I'm from a very, very conservative little small town, and you know, small town America, and yeah.
You know, but my thing that I have a hard time wrapping my head around is that, okay, people who, I don't want to stereotype here, but people who traditionally like guns and people who traditionally like, people who like guns are traditionally people who support the military, and those people are traditionally Republican, right? Nothing wrong with that. But Donald Trump has done nothing but crap on the American military publicly. So I don't know, to wave a Trump flag around like it's an American flag, you know, that doesn't seem right to me, man. You know, I get if he was a strong personality, but he also, you know, supported the military and, you know, told Putin to stick it, you know, where, but he doesn't, man. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, the whole situation with him leaving the hospital and waving, and it's pretty signing the blank piece of paper and wherever he was. Anyway.
And again, the same people who are usually very religious, and he's never read a word of the Bible, and he just smoke bombed protesters.
Oh, don't.
How do you see that and go, yeah, this is the God? How do you do that, man?
Don't tell my hometown people about that, because
yeah,
it'll be
it's nothing against guns.
There's one dude that I used to hang out with just like all the time. I mean, we were good friends once upon a time, and he's just, you know, he believes the rhetoric. He believes that Trump has his Christian values in mind, and that he's you know, fighting for all the babies, and it's really, it's hard. It's very hard.
You truly believe those things, that's fine. You just like just don't fake it, you know?
Sure.
I'm not necessarily on that side of the fence, but if you truly believe it, that's okay. Just like don't fake it.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000%, man. It's yeah. So wash that away. What you've done so much great music, and you play so many different genres, and um, what was I was oh, I saw that you had also been influenced by Zappa, and I love Zappa. I love him to death. One of my musical heroes was also very much influenced by him, which is Weird Al. I wonder if you ever are you familiar with him? Have you? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I remember when I was in grade school, everybody had just found White and Nerdy, you know,
Yes.
and that was it. And my personal favorite is Like a Surgeon.
Excellent.
I like Madonna. I think she's great, and I think making it Like a Surgeon is even better. He's a revolutionary, man.
He truly is. He's a genius. You know, the great story about Like a Surgeon is you know, Madonna had just put out Like a Virgin, and she contacted Al's people, and she's like, when are you going to do Like a Surgeon? And he's like, I guess now. So great. Who would you like to work with? Carte blanche, you can work with anybody across the board. Uh, Musically, have them produce, you know, in any
Sure.
way, shape, or form. Who would it be?
I get asked this question a lot, and I always have a hard time answering because I'm not sure if it's because I have a lot of different answers, right? So I could pick a guy like Alan Parsons because I am #1 Pink Floyd fan of all time. I have every album. I've heard them. Like I bought new records and they got holes in them now because I played them so much. You know, like I have heard all of it, and I'm a huge fan. So obviously Alan Parsons, who produced Dark Side among some other stuff, and again has a fantastic career in his own right. Like I, Robot is a great standalone album. Big fan of his, and if he could produce us, I think that would be cool. Also would like to work with somebody like Kevin Parker. He's from Tame Impala. He's the lead singer. I think his production skills are excellent, and I think he would be great probably for King Falcon because I think it's a similar vein of music. And I just think that he does this. Here's what he does so well. His melodies are super original. His sound is super original, but it feels familiar because he has influences from stuff that we all know and love. You know, you can hear it, and you can hear the Beatles. You can hear the Stones. You can hear, you know, funk from the 70s. I mean, you can hear all that stuff, but you hear it in 2 seconds, you know it's Kevin Parker. So in order to kind of take all that goodness and make it his own, I think is incredible. So big fan of his. Also somebody who would be like out of left field. Like I've said this in interviews before, Pharrell Williams. I would love to write a song for Pharrell Williams' voice,
Sure.
purely because I think he's got a unique voice, and I think it's a great sound. So it's a tough question to answer because I think, you know, when you work with a producer or you work with a new artist, when you guys are in the studio together, it now becomes 50-50. So I don't know. I mean, I would be interested to see what our sounds like juxtaposed with anybody. I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think
It absolutely does. Yeah, you want to feel the different flows of whoever is working with you. I think that's absolutely great. It's awesome that you are, you know, open to lending yourself out to those different vibes and things. Um, I I was on one of the first episodes of the Tyra Banks show, and Pharrell and Slim Thug were actually on the show, um, and so I met Pharrell. He seemed chill.
yeah, he seems like the coolest guy. I think that's probably, that's one thing I'll add. I only want to work with anybody who I think would be good to work with. Somebody who I think would be not friendly, I wouldn't want to work with. Like, I don't know anything about him other than kind of what the media knows. I feel like John Mayer wouldn't be a fun guy to work with. Not to throw any shade at him. I just feel like if I met him,
It's okay. You can throw shade. I think he's deserved it at this point.
Truly, I feel like he wouldn't give a crap about me. Not that I think he should, but I think he wouldn't even pretend, and that's fair. I just that's not the kind of guy I'd want to work with.
Yeah. I feel the same way about I bring him up and now I can't remember his name. He's currently one of the judges on The Masked Singer. Who is that guy? Anyway, yeah, I absolutely agree. I feel that I do the same thing, in my acting career. I don't want to be on set with anybody who's going to be an asshat, and it's just, it makes the whole set environment uncomfortable, and nobody wants that. Let's see. Oh, you also, let's see. You've opened for a lot of great bands. You opened for the Mowglis, for Coin, and played with Will Calhoun. Tell me a little bit about that. How was that experience?
Will Calhoun is first and foremost the nicest guy you will ever meet. I mean, he is just super down to earth, very, very cerebral guy, like he's the kind of guy who when he talks about practicing drums, he talks about practicing beats with one hand at a time, like he's crazy like that. Also, he's probably one of the single best musicians I have ever seen, heard. The guy is unreal. I mean, he's great with Living Color, but just seeing him by himself, he can make melody from the drums, which is incredible because drums are not an instrument kind of with pitch. It's a rhythm instrument. Mm-hmm. He's incredible. He was really cool. The Mowglis, again, not to throw any shade at them, but they weren't super friendly. So I'll say this is kind of how it went. And if you ever have them on the show, I'm sure they're not going to remember who we are. But so they came and played at Fordham, right? So Fordham is the college that I go to. And we won some, we kind of sent an audition tape to Fordham and we're like, hey, can we open for them? And Fordham came back and was like, oh my God, yes. Because you don't have a lot of rock bands at Fordham. It's not a music school. So we opened for them. And before the show, we kind of approached them. We're like, hey guys, super stoked to be playing with you. And they were just very short with us, Again, could have just been that it was before the show and they were in their own heads and they didn't want to whatever. But they were just a little short with us. We went out and played, and I think we killed it. And I think that we killed it because after we played and came back, then they were a whole lot nicer to us. So
they had to vet you.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. But at first they were very, very cold, and then after they saw our set, they were like, "Oh my God, you guys!" And we're like,
"Duh, we rock, guys! Hello." Sometimes you got to prove it to people,
Yeah, I get it. We're just some shitty kid band. I get it. And this was a couple years ago. I must have been 18 or something like that. So you're a touring band. You got hundreds of thousands of followers. You see these kids. You're like, who the hell are you? So yeah. I get it.
Well, obviously you rock their faces off because that's what you do. Have you guys been able to, have you toured a lot?
So King Falcon hasn't. Actually, King Falcon has never played a live show because our first live show was scheduled for April 1st, and March is when coronavirus hit, so everything got canceled. So King Falcon hasn't, but the Canaries have. We've spent probably the last 3 years touring intensively. The very last gig that we played before coronavirus was in February, and that was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which if you've ever been to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, is in the middle of absolutely nowhere. and we played at a bar, and it was packed. I mean, everybody was hammered. It was a really, really good time. It was such a good time. I actually blew up my amplifier, and it waited.
Wow.
Yeah, it waited about 6 months to get fixed because the amp shop was closed. So it was a good show. It was a good time.
That's how you know it's a real rock show. You blow out the amp.
Yeah, man, it was halfway through the song, and I just heard some crackles, and I turned around and I just saw some smoke, and I was like, all right, we're shutting her down. So
It's at that point when you crack a guitar open too, just to get the whole.
yeah. Well, so back then I didn't have a guitar sponsorship. Now I think I could probably get away with that, but because I'm actually sponsored by ESP Guitars. This is my little plug for them. Matt and Tony at ESP Guitars are the two nicest guys. I actually never super played ESP guitars. I've kind of just like played, Fender and Gibsons like everybody else. ESPs are awesome, man. I mean, I think they're really overlooked, especially by anybody outside of the metal world. Usually you see ESP guitars like for metal players, but they're great, and they've been super nice to me. Actually, this is another plug. Working on a guitar lesson series for ESP guitars, which should be coming live in the next couple of weeks. So if anybody's watching this and they're a guitar player, you might see me there. If you want to see me talk about more stuff. But yeah, so if they send me a whole bunch of guitars, I'll start maybe I'll start although they're pretty nice. I would feel bad smashing them.
What's it about the feel of an ESP that delights you?
They're well made, first of all. Some guitars, the fit and finish is a little 50-50, but the ESPs are very well made, and they have a lot of okay, I've always been kind of a vintage guy. I've always been really crazy about if that's how they did it in 1959, if you do it any differently, I'm not going to like it. I'm going to hate it. Don't even attempt. But that was when I was younger, and now that I've really kind of become a touring musician and I've carried heavy gear and I've had to change strings like twice in a week, I've had to do all this stuff. Having a guitar that's just easy to live with and sounds good and is light and you don't have to worry about stuff breaking is great. And the ESP stuff is like that, whereas a lot of my other guitars, even vintage guitars, like I've got a 1969 Fender Telecaster, which I could talk about. It's vintage, it's different. So that's like, I've had it for 5 or 6 years now. That's really my number one guitar for the most part. But again, stuff breaks, like my neck pickup right now is broken. It's in South Carolina getting rewound. I've had frets pop out of it. It's like stuff just breaks, and to have a guitar that's just easy to live with, and again, easy to live with, sounds good, looks good, works, feels good, it's nice. So that's what I like about them. They're just they're good value, I think.
And they sound great.
Yeah, no, they do sound great. I mean, you can get and they're unique tones. The guitar that I have especially, it's got a lot of kind of fancy features in it, and you can make it sound like a Strat. You can kind of make it sound like a Les Paul. Although I will be modifying it because I'm just that kind of guy. So but yeah, I'm actually I could talk about guitars and stuff all day. That's really my love. I think songwriting is number one for me, and also at number one is just the guitar, and those two are constantly fighting each other.
I love it. What is the utmost historic guitar that you would own if you could?
Oh man. So I can tell you the most expensive guitar I've ever played was a 1959 Les Paul Custom. It was black, had 3 pickups. The asking price at the time was $119,500, which I certainly can't afford, but I could afford to play it in the store for 5 minutes because that's free. I know the owner, and he was very nice, took it out, was like, don't drop this one. And I was like, okay, I won't. That was definitely the most historic guitar I've ever played. If I could have one, it would probably be a 54 Fender Esquire or a Telecaster. Because I think 54 is kind of when they started to really figure it out, and it became a little bit less of a prototype and a little bit more of like a regular guitar. Whereas the first ones that came out, I think, were a little bit wonky. But that's kind of right when they figured it out. The guitars are super light, and the Esquire is just nice and simple. I'm a big fan of simple. 1 pickup, just bolted to a slab of wood. Usually if we're in the studio, I don't play with any pedals, just straight into the amp. I can't really do that live because sometimes you have to get distortion at not crazy loud volumes. So, you gotta be a little bit more practical live, but in the studio, very simple. One pickup right into the amp. Because at the end of the day, what you sound like is going to be in your fingers. Because I teach a lot of guitar students, right? And they're always coming to me with, oh, should I buy this pedal? Should I buy this amp? Should I buy this guitar? No matter how much, if I say it like this, right? If you walked on stage at Woodstock in 1969 and Jimi Hendrix handed you his guitar plugged into his pedal and plugged into his Marshall, you would still not sound like Jimi Hendrix. You would still sound like you. So it's more about you as the player than the gear that you use. And the less stuff that gets in the way of that, I think, is better. Whereas some people get their sound from the stuff, and I think that's cool too. I've never been a person like that, but for me, it's just simpler is always better. So
brilliant. That's an incredible answer. It's like, we all have our dream cars. Mine is the McLaren F1 because you essentially
that's a $20 million car right there.
Exactly.
Listen, don't get me started on cars either, man. That's my oh man. I've always been a really, really big car guy my whole life. So when I was born, my dad bought a Mustang from the 90s, right? We still have it. It was my first car. I blew up the transmission. It's an automatic. If my parents watched this, it was because I was driving safely down the road. If anybody else was watching this, is because I was doing 130 on the Cross Island. And then I just heard some clunking, and then it was all broken after that. So it's a stick shift now. So all my friends are driving like Nissan Altima, like a Mercedes C-Class, and I pull up in a Mustang with no traction control, no mufflers, and it's a stick shift. I'm that guy.
Awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, listen, they'll drive like a dream through their entire life. So that's, and I'm collecting all of my various pennies to get that McLaren, and I'm going to have one. Let me tell you,
man, I think you should get one. They're a good investment. You could buy it and sell it for double.
I'm gonna have a whole garage just like Jay Leno. Have my McLaren F1, right, and my Batman '66 Batmobile, and the Ecto 1, and just have the whole fleet in there just in case I get up to some mysteries or have to bust some ghosts, whatever adventure I get into. I want to be prepared.
I agree. You gotta have a car for every occasion. Unfortunately, I often say that my car is the car for no occasion, because if you've ever owned, it's a point A to point A car. You you can never get anywhere reliably if there's any inclement weather. Like I've taken that car out. So my parents drove it before me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my mom decided to take it out in. I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10. I was a little kid. She took it out. She used to be a photographer. She was working one night. She was driving home in a rainstorm, right? Well, Mustang's a pretty low car, so she drove it through some water. The air intake ended up sucking in water, and air compresses, but water doesn't. So the piston came up, compressed the water, blew a hole right in the side of the block.
Oh God!
So we fixed that. Then there was another time a couple years after that where my dad and I went to go see a movie, and we were driving back again in the rain, going about 10 miles an hour, slid and hit a tree. So it's just like not a safe.
Seems to be a theme, Mike. I wouldn't go out in the rain anymore, honestly.
No, I wouldn't. I've knock on wood, I've been okay, but I've had a couple close calls for sure.
My first car was a Buick Regal. Thing was a whale. I could barely. I was like an action figure sitting inside that car, and man, I crashed that thing so many times. I backed into so many neighbors' cars. Like the first 2 weeks that I had that car, I think I got 3 tickets,
Oh my
and my my dad about disowned me several times during the while I had that car. But it was a hell of a lot of fun. I never knew how fast I was going because
that's funny because
it would just glide.
I saw a guy on the road yesterday in a Grand National, in a real one.
Oh yeah.
I saw him go by and I was like, whoa. And my
Oh,
girlfriend was
yeah.
sitting next to me. She was like, that's just like an old man's car going down the road. I was like, you just don't know.
Yep.
So yeah,
That's a sight. That's a
man. Yeah,
sight.
it was mint, man. It was obviously all black, not one single dent, not a speck of
Oh,
dust.
mwah.
Yeah, it was a nice car.
That's like seeing a spider out on the road. You're like,
I felt like I saw a supermodel.
absolutely. You kind of did. Vehicularly speaking, yeah. Oh man.
I've always been the kind of guy to watch like the Velocity channel on TV. You know, people just like
There's a
taking.
Velocity channel? Holy
Oh my god!
crap.
Yeah, it's on I've got Verizon. I don't know if you have. I think they changed. I think it's the Motor Trend channel now, and it's just all about cars, people like doing restorations and stuff like that. I'm a huge nerd, and I think cars and guitars have kind of always had a unique.
Sounds like your next album title.
Yeah, well, if I was maybe a country guy, you know, cars and guitars.
Okay, that's fair.
Like a Levi's
guitars.
150. Working hard and Bud Light. And I gotta just that's only really pop country. I gotta say real country music, and I'm talking like old guy country music. You know, Chet Atkins, Les Paul, even. That is some of the finest guitar work that you will ever see in your life. Pop country sucks because it's all the same 4 chords in different keys. Actually, there's a video on YouTube. If you go look it up, somebody edited together like the top 40 pop country songs and key shifted them, and they're the same progression, just in different keys. And the melodies all lead into one another. It's like one 15-minute song. So definitely go check that out because that really changed my pop country. But and you know, listen, everybody's out here. Musicians are all out here trying to make a buck. Pop country is a good way to do it. So no shade.
I mean, they're doing what they do. I have a good friend who used to work with Reba. He's very much a Reba fan, and he's very much a classic fan too. And he's a real country snob himself. So like, I'll ask him if he's heard of, you know, this artist, and he's like, yeah, I wouldn't walk across the street to see them. You know. Yeah. So
actually, somebody put me on recently. Have you ever heard of country rap?
That exists? Of course it does.
Somebody put me on recently, and it's insane. It's so somebody this video had probably about 5 million views. Somebody took Gucci Gang, the song Gucci Gang, and changed it to Diesel Gang. And it's a song about diesel truck. And this video has more views than any Canaries video that's been out. I was like, really?
I think I'll pass on that one, but thanks. I don't.
There's an ass for every seat.
Of course. Absolutely. So I know you've been pretty busy with all things musical for not only during the pandemic, but for the past 10 years. What other sorts of hobbies have you gotten up to during these last few months? Have you done anything else?
So I actually I've been learning how to cook, weirdly enough, because I've always been
the guest that I just had on right before you said that too. She's like, I took up cooking.
Yeah, because you know you can't really go out to eat quite as much.
Right.
Because you can and you should definitely support small business, but you know, I think eating inside still, at least here, you still can't do. You can only get takeout so many days a week before you start getting real fat. So just started learning how to cook, man. Like last night, my girlfriend and I made We made fried chicken. We made baked mac and cheese. We made a pumpkin cheesecake. It's just like a whole
God.
Thanksgiving fall meal. It was good. And it's fun, you know. It's a lot of work. You can spend 3-4 hours, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Here's the part that always gets me is you spend all this time cooking and the actual meal only takes about 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's usually true. I have a lot of fun with it too when I'm able. I have I have roommates that are usually commanding the kitchen, so I don't get to, I spend very limited time down there, but I do enjoy cooking too. I enjoy baking. Fried chicken is my absolute favorite. I can just it's a good thing I have good metabolism. Yeah.
Left.
Great. Cool. Give me just a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll crack a couple beers, have some drumsticks on a Monday afternoon.
I'm not going to do anything else today, so that sounds good to me. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining me on the show. I really appreciate it, especially I know it's in the afternoon there, so
yeah, I had a really great time. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great. Just having fun, hanging out, talking about stuff.
Where can people find you? Should they want to check out your music and follow you on social media?
I always say this: anywhere you look, we're gonna be there. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. King Falcon has a TikTok. If you want to see what TikTok looks like for us.
I'm on TikTok. I know I'm too old to be there, but I'm there anyway.
So Spotify obviously is our main platform. But again, we're also on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Play, wherever you stream music or wherever you watch videos, we're going to be there. So YouTube, that also is good. Just look us up. And Inoculated is spelled INOCULATED. There's only one N. We get emails sometimes, or we get people reaching out on Twitter, man. And I've really seen some horrific spellings of Inoculated. And I feel like in some ways it's good, because if you look up Inoculated Canaries, you're not going to get anything else. It's really just going to be us. But people really spell it heinously wrong, and then you'll end up getting like science textbooks, or you'll get stuff about vaccines, which is appropriate now, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, so that's how you spell it. Don't get it wrong. And we have our website, so you can check us out there.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all your incredible work and all your amazing music. I can't wait to hear the new stuff from King Falcon. I'll be listening. And otherwise, have an awesome week, man.
Thanks, man. You too. Take care.
Take care. Remember, you can follow me, as always, across all the places at Devlin Wilder. That's DEVLINWILDER. And Faux Real at Faux Real Pod. That's FAUXREALPOD. That's it for this one. See you on the next one.